I keep very small seed starter as a stiff starter, and I had only 20 gram. And I want to make just over 100 gram of levain. Because I made the seed starter only 24 hours ago and it was kept at the room temperature, it's really active. Look how bubbly it is. And it smells sweet and sour, but it's not like sharp sourness. It's more like yogurt. It's beautiful. It's like really nice sweet smell. I took a tiny bit out to here. So this is going to be my next seed starter. So I add a little bit of flour, then make it into a stiff starter. So it's the sort of clay kind of texture. And what I do is I keep it in a clean container. So I need to wash this. So that's all I keep. And I keep it at room temperature. Now back to the dough. So for the hydration ratio, you have to use the same flour over and over again. Then you can figure out what the best hydration ratio is for that particular flour. It will also depend on the humidity of the day. If it's very humid, you will pull back the hydration ratio. With this particular flour I'm using, I can't push hydration ratio too high. So I start with 70% and I'll add more water when I'm adding salt. And also I add more if I feel that I can take it. Okay, for dough temperature, I'm happy with anywhere between 26 to 28 degrees Celsius. The flour temperature is around 26 degrees, and I'm using water which is about 30 degrees Celsius. There's a formula to find out what temperature of water you have to add in, but later when I handle the dough on the benchtop, the stone benchtop tends to suck all the heat. Also during the bulk fermentation, the temperature drops too. Basically, it's going to equalize to the room temperature. Now I just have to mix. Initially, I just use this spatula. Then I move on to the dough scraper. So this process is called fermentolyse. Autolyse is when you add flour and water and mix and leave. So let the flour hydrate. Let the flour absorb water. Instantly the gluten will start developing. What I like about sourdough, high hydration sourdough, is you don't need to work so much. And so instead of autolyse, you add levain on top of it. That becomes so-called fermentolyse. And in this situation, you just have to make sure that there's no dry flour. And just to clean it up, this is what I do. So I just wet the side where the dry flour is and clean up. And I like this dough scraper because it fits the shape of the bowl. It's really easy to use. So that's about it. And I'm going to leave this. Normally, like half an hour to 1 hour. This heritage flour is roller milled. It's fine, so it's quite quick to absorb water. And if I'm using wholemeal or something rough like a stone ground flour, and I just make sure that I give it enough time to hydrate. Show you what the dough temperature is at this stage. It's going down. Yeah, it's about 29, yeah. But it will come down. So it's been 1 hour. I'll show you how. See? It's already like that. I haven't touched since. Dough temperature has come down to, yeah, a bit under 29. Salt goes in. I wet hand liberally and going. Now wet dough scraper too. Then slap and fold. So I'm making sure I won't feel the salt granules, right? You want the granules, you want the salt to melt. And like initially I just go like this, which is basically like a normal yeasty dough. And because I'm using this gravity, it's not really hard work. Some people comment, oh, it's such hard work, but I'm really letting it go. I always have a bowl of water near me so I can wet my hands. So now it's getting very smooth, right? While I'm kneading, which is this, I'm adding water, aren't I? Look how nice it is already, but I can still feel salt. So I'm just going to keep going a bit more. And while your hands are clean, you should do this. So have this jug. So it's 1 liter jug. Spray oil. So it's ready to go. And if possible, record it or take photos in the process, and you remember what it looks like, right? And while you're doing this, I know what this should feel like because I've done it many times. If you're reading somebody's recipe which is written in somewhere cold, like, I don't know, winter in London, and that person says, leave it on the counter overnight. Can you do it in Cairns, Australia? Even in Sydney, summer? No, you can't. So you really have to know that information, where it's coming from. Best to find somebody from your country, your area, same climate, same season even, and find the same flour. If you are a total beginner, that's the quickest way to get the best result, right? Because you can copy. Timeline, it's to do with the dough temperature. Also, the ambient temperature will affect your dough temperature, right? And also the how vigorous, how active your starter is. that's going to affect how quickly the dough will rise. You can't just, even if you get all the conditions, you copy all the conditions, flour, temperature, humidity, whatever, same amount of water, that factor, you have different starter. How it's maintained is different. That's going to change. So you can't really stick to somebody's timeline. Everything has to be taken into consideration. So you have to keep record and then keep using the same flour, same recipe, and first time just stick to say like 70% hydration, which is very conservative. Change where to cut off the bug fermentation. Even if everything is the same dough temperature and everything, if you change the bug fermentation timing, result will be vastly different. So it's already come down, see? 26 and a half. Anyway, while I'm speaking, chatting away, look, such a strong but very extensible. So I'm happy with the gluten development, right? I will do 2 or 3 sets of coil folds. I transfer this to the jug. Look how smooth this is. It's not beautiful. I just love this flour. And I cover it. Okay, so this is the first coil fold. Just before I do it, I show you. So it's about 1 kilogram dough, right? It comes up to 800 milliliter mark, right? So if you want that to be 50% rise, you want that to go up to about here. You touch under the rim. The bottom of the dough is just under the rim, but the top of the dough is sticking out a little bit. So that's, to me, the good spot, good time to stop the bug fermentation and move on to the next stage. You have to figure out yourself. So try different amount of rise where you stop the bug fermentation. So 50%, 60% is good for me, but some people say more. Double to me is too much unless your dough temperature is really low. To make it less complicated, try to aim for anywhere between 25 to 27 degrees Celsius. Then aim for just around the rim. If you are beginner, then you can start adjusting. Next time you do more, you do less, you do the coil fold, right? Normally, it's really hard to do coil fold, so I wet my hands well and bring this out. It normally comes out cleanly. Then I do this and put it back, but because I want to weigh it, okay, so 988 grams. So the hydration for this now is 75.6%. So it was only 3 hours ago that levain was introduced to flour and water, right? 3 hours ago. And this is the second coil fold, but you can see it's risen quite a lot already. The coil fold, other than equalizing the temperature of the dough, throughout the dough, not just that it's giving layers. Now, it's catching so much gas. Can you see this? It feels very, very different. It's got a lot more volume. It's also stronger. Once it starts catching gas, it's got the stronger structure. It's gone up a bit. It's sitting in a warmer spot, so a bit over 27. Just over the rim. Wet the thermometer, goes in. It's 27, bit over 27.5 degrees Celsius. Happy with that. I'm going to pre-shape it. I normally use this dough scraper. It's just wider, easier to use for this purpose. Tip it over. And at this stage, the dough smells really well fermented. It's really sweet. It smells like bread. That's what I'm after. I tilt it a bit. I only did 2 sets of coil folds because I felt that it was strong enough and it was already catching a lot of gas. I didn't want to degas too much, so I made the decision not to do the 3rd coil fold. And what you can do is, when I feel that this is still lacking in structure, I'll do a tighter pre-shaping. Now, I wet my hands again. So I want this smooth side, pretty side, to be on top. And I just want to bring it to the center, so I'm doing this. But that's all it is. Okay, it's beautiful. It's really proofy. This is when you can check if it is still under or not. But I don't know if you can see well. It's really bubbly. And when I touch, it feels really full. That's all I can say. So now I'm letting it rest a little bit so I can go back in and stretch it out a little bit to shape. So it's been only 10 minutes or so, but this dough's already relaxed. Okay. It's good to have a pastry brush handy. I'll show you why. And also, choose the right size panettone. If you put small dough in a huge panettone, it will spread. Now I'm gonna flip it, tucking in some flour, making sure it's not stuck on the bench, then flip it. Okay, and I spread out a little bit. Okay. There are a few different ways to shape a dough. I like it like this because I kind of like the tension it creates. It's still very light-handed. So create this pillow and lightly tuck in. Okay. And I tighten it. And this is rice flour. Because rice flour doesn't contain any gluten, it doesn't stick to the panettone. So that's that. So when I put this into the panettone, I get rid of excess flour, rest a little bit before you stitch it, which is this. But I'm going to do it now. It's easier when it's a bit more relaxed, but anyway. It's quite proofy, this dough. I'm hurrying now to put this in the fridge. If you proof this at room temperature, it's called the same day bake. Cold proofing gives you sort of convenience. You can make it now, bake it tomorrow morning, and you have this freshly baked bread in the morning. Also, it will develop more flavor. It'll be a bit more sour, more complex, but when you do the same day bake, so room temperature proof and bake it, it's got milder flavor, which is delicious too. So it really depends on your preference. When you do the proofing at room temperature, you really need to know what you're doing. To check the doneness of proofing, you have to know when you touch it, it feels really fragile, it's full of gas, and also you have to time it so that just before you feel it's fully fermented, you have to turn on the oven. Mine takes about half an hour to preheat the oven and the Dutch oven, so I have to put that into consideration. I don't need this bread right now, so I'll put it in the fridge and I'll bake it tomorrow. Sourdough baking is all about tiny nuances. That's the fun part, and you should remember why you did what you did. That's why you have to take notes, take photos, videos. You have to go back and see why you made the decision. This is getting quite fermented while I'm talking. And put it in the fridge. When it's pushing towards more fully fermented stage, and it's facing the danger of over fermentation, I won't even put the cover on it. I put it in the fridge. I could put it in the freezer, then transfer to the fridge, or just put the tea towel over it, something like that. So again, you're making little decisions. So that's going to the fridge. I'll show you tomorrow morning how the dough has grown. It will grow from here. Okay, so this is after 18 hours in the fridge. Can you see how much the dough has filled the panettone? For the food safety reason, I keep the fridge at 4 degrees Celsius or even lower. But while the dough is cooling down, it's still fermenting. I find a lot of people over ferment the dough in the fridge because their fridge is too warm. Also, when the initial dough temperature is too high, it will keep fermenting longer. I use wheat stock design. And make sure, because often it's not cut properly. If it's just, and it's going to the oven. Oven's been preheated at 240, but because it's fan forced, I'll say it's higher. I spray a bit, then the lid goes on. So I've got the bread baking function. I'm gonna do 25 minutes. So it really depends on your oven, so you have to test it out. I used to do 20 minutes, but nowadays I'm doing 25. So it's nicely sprung. Now, to 25. I'll do, say, 12 minutes and check. After I turn off the oven, I usually put the banneton back in there. It will dry up. So this is how it baked up. It's really nicely done. A lot of bubbles. I like blisters. Some people don't like it. If you don't want blisters, don't spray water. You might still get some, but not this much. So nice height, nice dark ear. But again, like if you don't like it this dark, stop baking earlier. Okay, done. Now I'm slicing. Yeah, pretty happy with that. It smells lovely and sweet. So the crumb reed, see how it's evenly open. There are a few bigger pockets of holes, but it's open everywhere. When there are bigger holes throughout, like from one end to the other of the bread, that means it's under fermented. But if you follow the method I told you, it will never happen. You could possibly over ferment. That's probably better than under ferment. And if you super over ferment, it will collapse. You will get sort of bigger uneven holes more towards the top crust. But this one is fully fermented. Very soft inside and a nice thin crust. If you put too much flour on top, it will be thick crust. And because I wrapped with the shower cap, the plastic, so that means it can stay thin as well. So there are a few factors that will influence the way the crust will be formed. And also spraying water will help, depending on what you like, really. Depending on the flour, it will change, and also the way you keep it in the fridge. When you do the same day bake, it will be even thinner. So that's another reason that, yeah, I do like the same day bake. Flavor wise, yeah, it's a little bit more sour in this way after cold retard. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Thanks for watching. This is Nim. Bye.